Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Imagine this. A deviation report lands on your desk. Something's gone wrong. And right there, in the root cause section, you see two little words that are supposed to end the story. But today, we're not going to see this as a closed case. No, we're going to treat it like the start of a real investigation. And there they are. Human error. Nothing else. It's written like it's the final word, the end of the line. No other factors, no context, just blame. It feels simple, clean, case closed. But in the real world of quality investigations, this isn't the solution. It's actually the most misleading clue you can find.
And that really brings us to the big question here, doesn't it? When you see human error written down as a root cause, are you actually looking at why something went wrong? Or are you looking at the evidence of a completely failed investigation?
All right, so let's break down why this whole approach, pinning the blame on the usual suspect, the person, is just so fundamentally flawed. It's a dead end. And worse, it pretty much guarantees the problem is going to happen all over again.
Now, look, this isn't just my opinion or some kind of best practice theory. In regulated industries, under what we call good manufacturing practices, or GMP, the rules are crystal clear. If your investigation ends by just pointing a finger at a person, it is officially considered an investigation failure. Regulators expect you to dig way deeper.
So here is the absolute key. We have to completely flip how we think about human error. It is not a cause. It's an outcome. It's the very last thing that happens in a long chain of other problems. Systemic issues that basically set the stage for that error to happen in the first place.
And here's why this matters so much. If you just blame the person and stop, what happens next? Well, that person might get retrained, sure, but the broken process that let the error happen, it's still there. The trap is literally still set, just waiting for the next person to come along. And that leads directly to repeat deviations, which aren't just a huge red flag for inspectors, they are incredibly costly. We're talking lost product, recalls, it's a huge deal.
Okay, so if blaming the person is the wrong move, what's the right one? Well, a good investigator, just like a good detective, knows you have to look past the obvious suspect. You have to start searching for the real clues, the systemic drivers.
This right here, this is our detective's checklist. Instead of asking who messed up, we start asking why the mistake was even possible. Was the procedure confusing? Was the training actually any good? Was the person totally overworked? Is the equipment designed in a weird way? What about supervision? These are the real clues that lead to the real culprit.
And this is that big mental shift we need to make. We're not hunting for a person to blame anymore. We're analyzing the entire environment. These system drivers, they're the conditions that create the opportunity for an error. Our job is to find those opportunities and get rid of them for good.
So knowing where to look is half the battle. But now we've got to actually crack the case. And you do that by proving a systemic cause with solid, objective evidence. This is how you build an investigation that an inspector can't argue with.
And the method is actually pretty straightforward. It's just 3 steps. First, you have to define the error with laser precision. Don't just say the operator made a mistake. No, say at step 4.2, the wrong valve was turned because the labels are nearly identical. See the difference? Step 2, you identify all the possible system drivers from our checklist. And finally, step 3, you go get the proof.
So how do you get that proof? You got to do the legwork. You review the records, the training files, everything. You conduct interviews, and this is key, not to blame anyone, but to understand what it's really like to do that job. And you have to go out there and observe the process yourself. This is where the real story comes out.
A huge part of this is writing it all down. You have to show your work. You're building a case, right? So you have to document all the factors you looked at, explain why you ruled out other causes, and show how you landed on the real systemic fix. It proves you did a thorough job and didn't just take the easy way out.
So, you've followed the clues, you've gathered the evidence, and now you get to the final reveal. It's time to unmask the real offender, and you know what? It's almost never who everyone thought it was at the beginning. This slide right here shows the classic sign of a weak versus a strong investigation. The wrong move? Closing the whole thing out with just retraining. It's a total cop-out. The right move? Implementing a real CAPA, a corrective and preventive action. This means you're fixing the system. You're changing the SOP or the equipment design or the workflow, not just telling someone to be more careful.
And hey, here's a little insider tip for you.
Relying on retraining as your go-to fix is one of the very first things an inspector looks for. They know it's a huge red flag. It tells them right away that you probably haven't found the real underlying problem.
This all boils down to one fundamental principle, one that should guide every single investigation you ever do. And it's this: systems fail before people do. People are working inside the systems that we design. If that system is flawed, it's just a matter of time before an error happens. You fix the system, and you protect both the person and the process.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question. The next time a deviation report hits your desk and those two easy words, human error, are staring you in the face, are you going to close the file and start hunting for a scapegoat, or are you going to pick up your magnifying glass and start searching for the real culprit?
Thank you for watching. If this helped, like and subscribe. More GMP scenarios coming.